Stormblood regressed Final Fantasy XIV for me. At the time of recording, I haven't played the game for weeks, whereas I had been playing it nearly every day for a few hours. I'm not burnt out, nor am I bored. I'm just disappointed. I started playing the game because I wanted to see if it got good, and when Heavensward and its patch content was over, I thought to myself that this was it. The game was getting good and everyone was right. For some reason, I just never expected it to get worse, and if it did, not like this. Spoilers ahead. All throughout the conflict for Alamigo, I just couldn't be convinced that we were worthy of making the progress we did. We've always known the Garleans are not to be trifled with, and the events in Rogger's Reach proved that. In one of the most memorable moments during the expansion, they had crushed the hopes and dreams of the Resistance, making it impossible for them to rebuild again. First, it was Griffin and his sacrifice, and now the Empire outmaneuvers everyone because we underestimated them. And yet, none of that sticks. After returning from Doma, which I will get to later, the effects of Griffin and the attack on Rogger's Reach were resolved off-screen, and we were just supposed to believe it at face value. The Empire somehow couldn't gain any ground despite having the upper hand. Somehow, they just kept losing and the Resistance kept winning. That's how the conflict for Alamigo remained. The Empire never once got the upper hand again, never once showed they were as threatening as everyone thought they were, or forced the Resistance forces to rethink their strategy. We just marched forward from one fortress to another, pushing the Garleans back until we won. The only advantage they got was capturing Kryl, but Thancred discovers her very quickly, yet also takes an absurdly long time to report back while nobody mentions a shred of concern over him. How quickly the La Habrea incident was forgotten. The Garleans had nothing to show for themselves outside of that Rogger's Reach surprise attack. Bordola, in my eyes, was just a wasted character that I fear will have some sympathy card cause her to switch sides. Xenos, on the other hand, I enjoyed greatly. He was smart, strong, and handled situations differently. The 2 times we fought him one-on-one really showed how far ahead he actually was, which made his final encounter that much more confusing. The final dungeon was really cool, essentially the only dungeon to have a relationship with the story in a meaningful way. And yet, Xenos was a pushover. Despite never really feeling like I deserved to beat him, I was allowed to anyway. Once again, I made some mysterious progress that I never felt worthy of. If he was an 8-man fight, I believe that would have felt more appropriate. I also can't forget that Lys, of all people, was made the leader of the Resistance, and I just don't understand why. Allow me to rewind to the Doma conflict now. After the events of Rogger's Reach, everyone's hopes and dreams are crushed and we decide our next move is to go to Doma. A line of thinking here is that if Xenos has to fight 2 rebellions at the same time, his forces will be weakened on both sides. Except that isn't how the Doma arc concludes. Instead, we liberate Doma, and when confronted with the fact that they need to fight off the Garleans when they come back, we're told they won't come back. In essence, for as great an achievement as it is to liberate Doma, we effectively waste our time there. Because we push the Garleans out, there isn't a 2-pronged fight they have to worry about. It's still completely one-sided in Alamigo, and it's not like Doma assists the Resistance there either. Doma shows up in the final stage to combat some aerial forces and in my eyes, doesn't effectively contribute to the war there. So I think to myself how we made all this progress that we aren't worthy of. My issues with Doma far extend past how it resolves. The events there could loosely be summed up to recruiting a bunch of factions for the final battle, and in my eyes, that isn't fun. It's because we are stuck in the same occurring loop. Someone doesn't believe we're strong. We prove to them we're strong. They apologize and we join forces. But even beyond that, I feel as though this portion of the expansion got off to a really rough start. The evil leader Yatsuyu is killing people in a fishing village and is underguarded. There are 4 innocents she has yet to kill. Now how do you resolve this situation? The easy answer for me is that we approach with intent on killing Yatsuyu. Whether we rush in or sneak in, it doesn't matter. Those 4 innocents are likely to die regardless of whatever we do, so it's our job to take advantage of the situation. But that's not how it plays out. Gosetsu instead walks up and allows himself to be captured to buy us time so that we can rescue him and the villagers. It's utter madness. Or how about the events in the Azim Steppe? We're going to fight a clan battle so that we can be the chief and order the clans to fight for Doma's liberation. Except we're ambushed by the Sun Clan and we volunteer to go to their base, from which we volunteer to help them prepare for the clan battle and gain an advantage in it. Why would we do this? Or what about the assault on Doma Castle where the final fight is that silly Empire guy who we refused to kill for some reason, instead of Yatsuyu? Or how about when Hien kills Yatsuyu, but actually doesn't? Or when Gosetsu's death is dragged out for 15 minutes in true anime fashion and completely kills his moment? Or when we find out that not only is Gosetsu alive despite being shot multiple times by Yatsuyu, but that she is alive as well with him on the same island? Or how after Doma's liberation, it's all sunshine and rainbows while in Ishgard, they needed to pull teeth to get things back on track? Honestly, it just all felt messy. The expansion pushed some power fantasy without proper build-up, and the conclusions just didn't match what was built up. And even then, some meaningful and impactful conclusions were negated hours later. Stormblood wrote itself into a corner and effectively used a Deus Ex Machina to get out of it. The amount of momentum that was destroyed by leaving the Resistance to go to Doma was palpable. As much as I love the colors, scenery, and the architecture, the visit to Doma felt like we were on vacation. Despite some absolutely stunning character development for Lys and Alize, we lost focus on the true objective. They shoehorned in more primal fights, all of which were absolutely incredible by the way, but with the exception of Susanoo, they were either forced or already done before. And above all of that, there wasn't a single Ascian to be found. Arguably, there wasn't a single meaningful character for the Garleans either. Fordola is a scapegoat to push a narrative, and Xenos was similar to Gaius in that he was doing his own thing, which funnily enough is continuing Gaius's research. Yes, I liberated Ala Mhigo and Doma, which are huge accomplishments. But do I deserve those victories? Does it feel like they were hard-fought battles going back and forth? No. It just felt one-sided. Stormblood is now the expansion where I question my motivation to move forward. Even if Shadowbringers is amazing, Final Fantasy XIV would just be 50-50 on its content. The game fluctuates between unenjoyable to fun to unenjoyable to fun. The only thing I can say right now is that the value of Final Fantasy XIV has plummeted for me, and it might have been enough to set it aside altogether. Who knows what the future holds though. Thanks for watching, appreciate it, see you on the next video.